VersoFest is the Westport Library's annual music and media conference and festival, where knowledge is shared and inspiration is discovered. A forum for media creators, artists, and fans to converge. For VersoFest 2025, the library is hosting Patti Smith, The Wallflowers, Henry Rollins, Black Thought, and more for 5 days of programming that celebrate creativity and the arts. E.J. Crawford and June Archer join us to discuss how the show gets put together and what this programming means for Westport. The Municipal Voice is the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities podcast in collaboration with WNHH LP 103.5 FM. I'm your host, Matt Ford. As always, be sure to give us a like and let us know what you're thinking in the comments. CCM's Municipal Voice podcast continues to present a key forum on important state-local issues. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the consensus views of CCM or member municipal leaders. EJ, June, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having us, Matt.
Yeah, Matt, thanks for having us on. We appreciate it.
Great. So, EJ, you've been on the show a couple times before, and as before, we're going to be talking about the VersoFest today. But for people who might not have seen that, could you just give a little kind of brief intro of yourself and kind of the history so far of the VersoFest?
Yeah, so it's amazing. It's now my third VersoFest. It'll be our fourth festival in total. So I'm the marketing director for the library, for the Westport Library, and VersoFest is our annual music and media festival. We have panels, workshops, talks. It's really kind of our way. We have Verso Studios is kind of our media arm of the library. Mm-hmm. We have an SSL recording studio and a broadcast studio. And so VersoFest was kind of launched to really kind of engage like the music and media part of the library, right? The idea being the libraries are, books are obviously always going to be a huge part of what we do, but it's not the only thing that we do. And, there are so many different ways to engage with the library and, in 2025.
Yeah.
So, this was a really cool way for us to kind of get out in the community, bring some really, really interesting people to the community to see. And it's amazing how it's grown, in just, the 3 years that I've done it and certainly in the 4 years we've had it. So yeah, we're excited.
And just speaking of Verso Studios, didn't that make you guys the first library in the country to put out a vinyl album?
Yeah, so we did that. So that was so we did it a couple years ago or last year. Or it's 2023, I should say. We're the first library ever to produce, release, and distribute a vinyl album, which is Verso Studios Volume 1. Again, hopefully we're trying to still kind of brainstorm a Volume 2, but
Volume really 1 was like local bands and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was all bands from the tri-state area. They kind of came in to record. We recorded everybody in the library. Rick mixed and recorded everything there. And distributed the album out kind of ourselves, kind of as an in-house production studio. And we're the new, we did the research and, near as we can tell, we're the first public library ever to do that with a vinyl album. So
it's so cool.
It was a really cool concept.
Yeah. June, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Matt, the story goes back a very long time, so I won't.
Do the short version. Yeah.
Short version. Started out as a recording artist in R&B band in the 90s called Room Service on Electra Records. And from there went on to becoming a music executive, working with the likes of Jay-Z, Beyonce, Chris Brown, Mario, Marion, 50 Cent. Currently, I am the number one host with the number one show on This Is 50, which is 50 Cent's platform, the show called The Winner Circle, but also producing documentaries and television shows. And I sit on the advisory board for Westport Library and super excited. This is my second VersoFest. And I am just super excited for everything that's coming down the pike. But my trajectory has been in music, and from the beginning, just wanted to be Michael Jackson or New Edition, and found myself in love with music and entertainment since I signed that deal in 1995. But it took many years to get there. But I'm here. I went to the Hart School of Music to play the violin, play the drums for a little bit, but realized there was nothing better than being on stage in a boy band in the 90s.
Definitely. Before you started all your music stuff, you are from Connecticut, right?
Born and raised. Lived in Hartford when I was first born, and my parents moved out to Windsor, and I grew up in Windsor, went to Windsor Public Schools all my life, and attended Central Connecticut State University as well, studying mass media. So, I'm a Blue Devil.
That's right. you had done a previous event with the library focusing on the tobacco industry of Connecticut. I believe it was called Stepping into the Shade. It was a documentary you worked on.
Yes,
Just can you
yeah,
just tell us a little bit about that? Because that's fascinating.
yeah. Well, I was doing an artist in residence at UConn and Eastern,
Hmm.
and two professors in the new media department approached me about this project. And as they began to tell me about it, man, I was super excited. One, it dealt with immigrants and migrants that came from Jamaica,
Hmm.
Puerto Rico, Poland, uh, DR, Colombia, and
Yep.
coming over to the United States, specifically to Connecticut and Hartford, Connecticut,
Hmm.
work on the tobacco farms. Why do I say that's important? Is I was excited. One, my parents are immigrants from Jamaica. My
Hmm.
grandparents obviously came over here, and my grandfather worked on the farm. I too, as a rite of passage, when I turned 14 and got my working papers, worked at Brown's Harvest picking tobacco.
Yep.
So I was super excited about the story, but I also realized when I was growing up and I fell in love with smoking cigars that I would go around. I was at the Grammy one year in LA, and there was this gentleman on the top of the building. We were
Hmm.
on a rooftop event, and he was smoking a cigar. And I had to go over there and say, "Hey, do you know where the wrappers come from those cigars?" I said, "That's a Cuban cigar, right?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "They come from Cuba," and I'm like, "No." He's like, "You have no idea what you're talking about." He's, "Well, maybe the Dominican Republic." I'm like, "Nope, guess again." And he was just
Connecticut.
flabbergasted by
Yeah.
my response. And I said, "They come from Hartford, Connecticut." He said, "No way." I said, "I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. I picked them, and I know that." So when all of
Yeah.
this came full circle, 2 years ago now, it took us a year and a half to film this documentary. We went back and really researched all the stories. We went to the beginning of the first ship that came over from Jamaica that almost got bombed by Hitler in the U-boat.
Jeez.
And there's a gentleman by the name of Mr. Hewlett Clark. He was on that first boat. He just turned 105 years old last month. And he's in the
Wow.
documentary. And when people saw him, they fell in love with him. It's a love story about American history. And
Yeah, that's great.
we are soon placing it somewhere. Can't talk about it, but keep your fingers crossed, prayers up. Maybe Netflix, maybe PBS. But we're excited, and we've turned it from an episodic into a full feature. So we're
Oh,
super
that's very
excited
cool.
about it. Super excited, and we got to debut it at,
Uh,
of course, the amazing Westport Library.
I
So
was gonna
Right.
say it really is like if people have a chance to check it out, it's really cool. I mean, the best part in June probably undersells his role in all of it is like his like storytelling and him talking to all the people that were involved in it. Like that's what all these things are kind of like a human connection kind of thing.
Hmm.
And to hear like those stories from people, it was really cool. It was really neat. It was like I would highly encourage people to check it out when they get a chance.
EJ, before we talk more specifically about like June's part of the program and what he's going to be doing, can you talk a little bit in general about the VersoFest and some of the headliners you've got this year?
Yeah, so I'll give you, stop me if I start running too long, but kind of the rundown of what we have. So, um, well, we have Five Fingers, who's a visionary artist from Norwalk. He's really like one, his work is really cool. He's just an awesome person too. Like just so that's really cool. So he's doing all our art installations. We have three different art installations up in the library. So we have different things for him. He's gonna be doing kind of an interactive kind of graffiti mural
Okay.
during the Saturday of VersoFest. So that's just kind of one of those things, come and you just get a chance to walk around and kind of see some of his work because that's super cool. Um, Thursday night, we have Patty Smith, who's going to be giving a talk with Allison Camerata, who's like a longtime journalist. She's won a number of awards. She was on CNN for a number of years.
Mhm.
So that's our Thursday night talk. Friday night, we have the Wallflowers performing. That's Jacob Dylan's band. And I think, it's a few different iterations, but they're going to be here to play. They're going to be starting at 8:30. Doors are going to be open before that. So those are kind of our first two kind of kickoff events. And really Saturday is kind of the heart of VersoFest. Like that's when, it's gonna be that's gonna be, a really full day. So we're starting at 10 a.m. We're doing a big kind of kickoff event that Five's gonna host. And it's gonna have a bunch of different DJs coming in. We're gonna have like a lot of different music being played, and then we're gonna have four different artists who are gonna be producing kind of live art inspired by the music. So four different DJs, four different live artists, and it's really kind of a family friendly thing. Hopefully we're hoping everybody in the area will come out. It'll just be a super, super fun event to kind of kick off the weekend. We're also going to try during that to set the record for the world's loudest library. So at some point, we're going to stop and do some kind of, whatever the library version is of kind of like a primal scream. The idea is that like this is not like, obviously it's a library for a lot of times. Like, people come in and they study and they read and like VersoFest is a time for us to get loud. So that's kind of the theme of that. Then that'll go into, we're doing a panel discussion on the 50th anniversary of Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run. It's being hosted by Dick Wingate and Arlen Schumer, and have some really cool panelists. It's that event, that's going to be really cool. Anybody who digs Springsteen, we have like Mike Appel, who's one of Springsteen's first managers and helped produce Born to Run. So he's going to be there and a bunch of other cool guests. Then we're going to roll from that into June's going to be interviewing Black Thought, for the lead MC for The Roots, which is like just so cool that we were able to make that work, and that he's going to be there. And then and Black Thought not only will be doing a talk, but June he's going to stay afterward to sign books. And then from there we go at 7 o'clock. We have Henry Rollins here to do again another. We call them kind of our Verso visionary conversations. These conversations like really just like amazing people like Patti Smith, Black Thought, Henry Rollins. I mean, how cool is it that we get a chance to have these people at the library and to get to talk to them and stuff? And he'll be in conversation with Nabil Ayers, who's the head of Beggars Records. And then Sunday, we're going to close out the festival. We have Christine Ullman, who is the Beehive Queen from the SNL band, and she'll be on with Paul Schaefer, who's kind of a longtime music director for David Letterman, and who's also they met when they were on the SNL band. And that'll be Sunday morning. We're doing kind of a brunch, and they're going to do a talk, and I think they're going to perform a couple songs too. And that's the festival whole. We have a couple of workshops. So with Five Fingers on Saturday, I forgot to mention those. Some kind of graffiti 101 workshops and some other kind of little workshops and things like that we have planned. So that's kind of the heart of the weekend. And then finally, to kind of close it out, we're going to have Gang of Four coming on April 18th. If people don't know Gang of Four, they're really kind of like post-punk pioneers. They're really, really cool. I mean, like it's really just awesome that they're going to be here. And they're actually doing their farewell tour, and they're going to kick it off at the library on April 18th. That's Friday night. And then Friday during the day, John King, the lead singer for Gang of Four, and Chris France from Talking Heads and Tom Tom Club are going to do a talk and like a
Oh, that's very cool.
So yeah, sorry, I know it's a little long, but
no, that's the question I asked. And so some of the headliners generally are ticketed, but a lot of the other things are free.
Yeah, yep. It's we have everything. Go to versofest.org. It's a combination of ticketed events and free events. And yeah, that's basically it. We try and do a mix of both, and try and obviously we have to make sure that the festival stays solvent. So unfortunately we do have to charge tickets for some, but again, a lot of it, a lot of free events and different things you can interact with, different ways to kind of come and enjoy the festival. We want it to be a music and media festival, not just a couple events.
Yeah, definitely. So speaking of the free parts of VersoFest, one of the free things is in fact Junie's event with Black Thought. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So first of all, how did you become involved with this particular part of VersoFest?
Well, I think we were trying to make it as diverse as possible to get as many different people there from different genres of music. And one of the things that we do realize is a lot of people that sit on the advisory board love hip hop music, right? It is a part of our culture. You can't turn on the television or listen to the radio and not hear or see hip hop. And it was just a matter of we want to connect people with people's stories. And we're thinking about those who have authored books. And we threw out a couple of names. And Black Thought was one that I was connected with personally through just being in the music business and through friends. And it was just, when we threw the name out, it almost like a light shone in the meeting. And I remember Alex Giannini had hit me. It's like, can you make this happen? And I'm texting him like, I think I can. Let me just send one text message and see if we can make this happen. And it happened. And it was just a matter of, if those who are familiar with the Roots, Black Thought, and Jimmy Fallon, you do realize they play every day on the Fallon show. And they are first and foremost a band. And so they are traveling. So it really is just a matter of timing. And as it would happen, you know, I like to tell people Westport Library is not the elementary library you used to know.
Yeah.
And they do amazing things. And I'm proud. I'm excited to be a part of not just, you know, the advisory board, but VersoFest, to be able to contribute in some way. That is the piece where when you sit on this board, there's so much from our leader all the way down. Bill is an amazing leader, and you just want to do things that are unconventional. You want to stretch the ends of the earth just to make something happen, because he is amazing, and he has an amazing team behind him. The moment I met EJ and Alex and the rest of the team, I knew that this was a place that I could thrive and flourish. Yeah. I have a lot of connections, right? And it's about legacy at this point. What are we leaving behind for the next generation, especially those who love music, media, arts, and entertainment? One of the things I love is, you know, our governor was just there, and we've been telling him we have to make this a STEAM state, not just a STEM state. Yeah. Arts is a big part of the rest of STEAM. STEM. STEM can't really happen without the A. Some think it can. I'm an arts guy, so I may be a little bit biased. But when we see our young people and adults add that art piece and that creativity piece, magic becomes to unfold. So having Black Thought was just amazing. His book is amazing. We're going to be talking about that, talking about his journey. And I'm going to be bringing out things, you know, as someone who does interviews a lot with a lot of famous people. I love bringing out the humanity in people. Yeah. Because keep in mind, these people that we know or hold in high regard, that we see on television, movies, or listen to their music, they are human beings too. They have a story, they have a journey, and we can be inspired by the things that they've been through. Man, how will that shape our lives moving forward, knowing that, hey, Black Thought went through something that I went through, and he found a way out, or he was able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. Or just to hear his story inspires me. I never went through what he went through, but man, the things that I could do if I just look at it from glass half full instead of half empty. So I hope that people will come out. This portion of the program is free 99. So come on out, have a good time. We're going to have a great conversation with Black Thought. And someone told me, a few people told me from the music business when I shared it with them, he doesn't do these interviews that often. Yeah. So this is a treat. And thanks to Westport Library and VersoFest, we will have this on Saturday, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, a large part of what you're going to be talking about with him is, in fact, not so much the music part of it, but his book, which he's written called The Upcycled Self, I believe it is, which is really interesting. So I know you've written some too. Do you identify with him being, you know, starting in music and going into the business and then writing? Like, it seems like he does a lot of that sort of diversification too.
Absolutely, because, you know, as a hip hop artist, he's not a monolith, right? He is producing movies. He was part of doing the music for Hamilton, right? He is on Fallon. He is part of the Roots. He's now an author, and he's produced and made music for, I think, over 11 albums now, right? That is a feat. Yeah. So he is what I would call a Renaissance man. And for me, being surrounded by those individuals in music and entertainment, you tend to gravitate towards them. So obviously I've done music. I was an artist. I was an executive. I've written books. I've produced TV shows. I've produced documentaries now. I've also have a clothing line, like inspired because I saw that 50 did it. I saw that Jay-Z did it. See? Yeah. So yes, it's about his book, but it's about his story. It's about his journey, which to me, music is a soundtrack to our lives. So of course it encompasses the music. And, you know, I am, without giving anything away, I'm going to produce something that I think is going to be a work of art on that stage, even though it is a fireside chat. It's going to be graphically stimulating and appealing. The talk is going to be made. I'm excited about it. I'm just trying to struggle with the fact that, do I just have a conversation or do I have questions? And this is the first time I battled with that, EJs, because if anybody knows my interviews, you know, anytime we drop interviews, 1.2 million people on This Is 50. And There was one day I went to interview 50 Cent, and we're getting ready and we're mic'd up, and he's looking over and he's like, "Where are your notes? Where are your questions?" I said, "I don't have any." He's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "We're just having a conversation. We don't need questions. We're having conversations." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I have them all up here." I was like, I'm like the Jay-Z of interviewing. I don't write them all down. I have them here. And he was so excited. And so when I go into interviews, it's really just a conversation, but I want this to be special. So I am battling with the fact that, I don't do this because it's here, but I want it to be special. So maybe I might have a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what
Right,
happens.
like a few to kind of keep in your back pocket, just to like, there's also
Couple
like
of prompts, yeah.
Yeah, you get somebody like Black Thought too. I mean, somebody who's accomplished so much is just such like an awesome person to have in like the library too. You're also like you have things like that where you're like, well, there's a couple things I got to make sure I ask. It's like, but no, I mean the fact that he can come is just awesome. I mean, it's like it's so cool. And again, I think that the reason for anybody who's listening who should definitely come out is like, you know, that June is so perfect to talk to Black Thought too because of kind of like the arc of their careers. And it's one of those things that gets very overused, right? But they are like very like in like the best sense like storytellers, right? Not as in like somebody trying to pad their resume by saying I'm a storyteller, but these are people who have again with writing songs and writing books and doing all the different things like those are the most interesting conversations to have. I mean, you see people, it's not rare that you have someone who is going to be an artist who's an artist in multiple ways, right? I mean, it kind of makes sense. Creative people are always looking for outlets to create, and I think in June and Black Thought, you got two of those people on one stage, and that's something you want to see.
I think what I'm excited about, what a lot of people don't know, is at Westport Library, there was an actual recording studio there. And I am excited to just invite him into the studio. Maybe he'll do something as a freestyle. I don't know. But if we can just have him take a picture on the couch in the studio, then we can put it up on the wall.
Frame it, put it on the wall. And, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I want Paul Schaefer to do it too. Paul Schaefer, if you're watching, we need you on the couch. We need you in the studio.
Well, create the opportunities for good things to happen,
Yeah,
absolutely.
You are listening to the Municipal Voice on WNHH 103.5 FM. Now, EJ, just out of curiosity, do you think the fact that Westport is just a skip down the Metro North line from New York makes it a little bit easier sometimes to get people to come out to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly hope so, right? I mean, we hope that's not the only reason they're coming, but it certainly doesn't hurt. I mean, we would, what we really hope to be, and what I think we are in a lot of ways is, if you're here and you're promoting your book or you're promoting whatever it is that you are, or you're just looking for an interesting place to kind of talk and tell your story, I think that we provide a really unique outlet to do that. I mean, there are obviously you have New York and you have Boston, right? So we're on kind of a corridor between, two major, traditional stops, but we just provide in, what's, a relatively small town in a really cool area, beautiful location. We're right on the river. We overlook a green and, but we have a really cool space. I mean, we have a forum, we have an 18-foot video wall. We have a forum that can fit, 400 people seated or 650 people standing. And, we really tried to create with the transformation of the library in 2019, a really flexible space that can host all kinds of different events, right? So we can make it feel really intimate and we can make it feel bigger. And, I mean, obviously we're never going to transform into a 50,000 seat auditorium, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, for people to get to have that experience and to get to, see Black Thought in a room of, 450 people, or to see the Wallflowers perform in, a room of 650 people or something like that. Like that's, it's hard to get those opportunities without having to travel to New York or Boston, or something like that. And, I mean, I think a lot of people are, certainly, I have two kids, and if I can not travel super far to get to do things and still get to do really cool, interesting, fun things, and like, I'm gonna take that opportunity, and we're hoping a lot of people will do the same.
Definitely. EJ, is there anything else going on upcoming, in the next year or so that you're excited about at the library?
And the next
new project?
Oh my gosh!
What do you got coming up?
No, we have we always have a lot of cool things. We have a lot of things that come together. I think as June alluded to earlier, we had the governor here a couple of weeks ago to give the governor's award of excellence to Keith Richards, which was really cool to have, and never did I think that, if you'd asked me however many years ago that I'd be working in a library and having Keith Richards on our stage, I think
Yeah.
I probably would have lost that bet. So we do have really interesting people coming up. We have authors who do talks, and we have David Baldacci is going to launch his newest book that's coming up in April. We're going to have Richard Russo coming in June. I mean, that's a really cool opportunity. I mean, he's again, I think one of, our, kind of great American authors, and so many other cool things. I mean, that we have, just things, we have things that are from the interesting, and things that are fun. We have like Kenny Mayne come in to do like
Yeah.
a wiffle ball documentary. That'll be super fun. And we just kind of roll ahead. We do our annual fundraiser, Book for the Evening, which is always awesome. We had Billie Jean King last year for that. We'll have StoryFest coming up in the fall, which is kind of StoryFest is our literary festival component to, our complement to VersoFest. And, that always has awesome
Yeah.
people. We
Is
had
there
Rock.
a summer reading for the kids?
Yeah, that's it. We have summer
Yeah.
reading programs. We have Camp Explore and summer learning clubs for kids. We'll have things going to kind of, doing kind of fun STEAM related programs. We do those, day in and day out. So yeah, really, I encourage you to come to our calendar, westportlibrary.org, and we have tons and tons of programs, each
So
and
they can
every
go to the
week.
website and see everything that's coming up
Yeah, just
at
like
the,
check
the
it out.
library's website, and then you also have a separate website just for VersoFest, right?
Yeah, we have a separate, VersaFest.org is our VersaFest website. And obviously we kind of link from one to the other.
Mhm.
So, if you come to one, you'll find the other one. But it's going to have all the information, on this year's festival. And, as I said, I'm super excited. As June said, everybody who's worked on this has done such a great job and poured, so much time and effort into putting together what we think will be, a festival that can appeal to, everybody. We want to do all ages and all interests, and, we want to have rock, we want to have hip hop, we want to have, art, we want to have, workshops, we want to have all these things. And again, at the end of the day, a library should be a place where people can kind of learn, and it's all about ideas and discussion and conversations, and that takes all forms, right? I mean, that can be authors, but it can be artists, it can be musicians, it's hopefully people who do all the above. And that's what we want to bring to the library, and that's really the goal of VersaFest. So we think we put together a great one. We're excited for it.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll be a great 4 days.
Excellent. June, while we have you here, I want to ask you about a couple of other things. I'm not sure when you sleep, but apparently, in addition to this, you do speaking and you do the music and all the other stuff. I want to talk to you a little bit about the June Archer Foundation and the 100 Women of Color and 100 Men of Color galas. Could you just tell us a little bit about what those are and how those got started?
Yeah, well, I'll start with the foundation. The foundation, the Archer Foundation, is something that I started for multiple reasons. I created the June Archer School of Arts, where we teach kids how to DJ, graphic design, filmmaking, photography, animation, and podcasting. And we're in 18 schools in Connecticut, one in Boston, and two boys and girls clubs in Hartford. And one of the things that were obstacles or barriers of entry, obviously, is funding.
Mhm.
And I felt very strongly that, once again, we're not an arts or STEAM state, right? So that funding doesn't trickle down to the arts the way it should. And for some schools, they can't afford the program. And we bring in people who, our student creatives and student executives, as we coin them, to see people that do what it is that they do in these careers, that they can actually be mentors. So they will see somebody that worked at Def Jam or Rock Nation or Atlantic Records or Interscope Records or CBS Television or ESPN, so that they can get a full scope of career exploration. And that takes money, right? And so we just wanted to go out, find resources, and find those that can invest in the program. And that's how the Archer Foundation was created. But the second arm of that is, my wife is in healthcare, and we want to make sure that our young people are healthy, and that they see that there are careers in healthcare other than just being a doctor, right? There are nurse practitioners, they are physician assistants, they're radiology technicians. So there's so many jobs. So we're going to be focusing on career exploration in those careers, because in music, you don't have to be Jay-Z and Beyonce, right?
Yep.
You could be EJ or Alex or Bill, right? Because Beyonce doesn't put the lights up herself. She doesn't film the concerts herself. She doesn't drive the trucks to and from arenas, right? Doesn't turn those lights on and off. So those are careers, and we encourage young people, get a passport. Tell your parents, get your passport. Because if you have a passport, you love music and you love accounting, you could be an accountant for a music tour, and you could travel. If you love to do logistics and you love music, you could be a tour manager, and you have your passport, tour the country or the world, maybe in 6 months, make six figures, and you're doing something that you love. So that's how the June Arts School of Arts became about, and also the Archer Foundation with the 100 Men of Color and 100 Women of Color. I started that in 2013 on the back of Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown and the brutality that happened, resulting in death. And I wanted our young men of color to see what it looked like with their heroes, their fathers, their uncles, their grandfathers, their teachers, their custodians at school, walk across the stage with a tuxedo or a suit on, with hard bottom shoes, with a belt and a pants around their waist, with a tie or a bow tie. And what would that mean to them as young men of color, instead of looking at what is the narrative on television, that they were a threat? So that first year, I honored 100 men who were important to me, that I stood on their shoulders. And that happened at the Connecticut Science Center. And the Connecticut Science Center, in turn, allowed young men of color and women of color to attend the Science Center camp that couldn't afford it. And with the brand partnership with Men's Warehouse, we were able to outfit, I believe it was 20 young men in tuxedos at no cost. And to see the look on their faces when they were measured for their tuxedos, and the excitement that I heard from the parents to say they're waiting for the tuxedos, but didn't understand what had to happen in order for them to get it, right? You get fitted, they put it together, and then you come and pick it up. But just to see these young men on stage with these tuxedos amongst all these other men of color was amazing. And I didn't do the women until the following year, because the second year of Men of Color, my mentor, Michael Bivens from New Edition and Belle Biv DeVoe, was being honored. And on stage, if anybody knows Mike Biv, they know that he loves the stage, he loves the microphone, he loves to inspire people. And he got on stage and he said, next year, June's going to do the 100 Women of Color. And I looked at him like, wait a second.
You were volunteered, yeah.
And sometimes people see greatness in you in those moments where you don't see greatness in yourself. Yeah. Sometimes you need to be pushed forward in a way to grow and move forward. And so we did the 100 Women of Color, and it allowed me to be able to give flowers to those who come from Connecticut. So every year we honor someone who has made it in some way, shape, or form in arts and entertainment. We brought Eric LaSalle back, if people remember him from ER, or Chicago PD and Chicago Fire. Anika Noni Rose, the first African-American Disney princess who was in Dreamgirls with Beyonce and Jennifer Hudson. We brought back so many countless others. I don't want to, because I will forget. Nikisha Sales from WNBA, Dwight Freeney from the NFL, who is both of them who are from Bloomfield, Connecticut. David Usry, who's on NBC, who's on the news and has been doing it since he was on Kids World many, many years ago. So it's for us to see those people of color who've been doing great things, just to inspire the communities throughout the state of Connecticut. And it starts from Stamford all the way to Springfield, Massachusetts, and parts of Rhode Island, that we can, on 2 nights of the year, celebrate so many communities, those who have been holding the torch. And they don't have to be CEOs. They don't have to be presidents or executive directors. They could be people who own, a corner store, who've been serving, people for generations. If they happen to be an immigrant, or they have a Jamaican restaurant or a Hispanic restaurant, it is to celebrate that custodian who inspire young people to say, hey, why do you always feel like you got to stay after and do detention and sweep the floors with me? There's a bigger world out there for you, right? But that person inspired them to become that CEO, how many years later, right? So it's just bringing together a community. And I want to say this, it's not a Black event. It's not a Puerto Rican event or Indian event or Asian event. It's an event to celebrate people of color, but everyone is invited to come and celebrate your neighbor, your coworker, your church member, and just an amazing time to network because you will meet Matt from Waterbury and know that there's a Matt from Enfield that you never met, and there's an EJ from Groton who never met EJ from Stanford.
Yeah.
And what kind of magic makes that happen other than, like I like to say, food, folks, and fun, all surrounded with music. To me, it's always about bringing people together to have fun, and music is involved. That's what I love, man. That's what
Amen.
I love.
Well, guys, I always like to finish up kind of on an up note and looking to the future. So I have a question for you both.
Yes.
If you could get anyone you want for VersoFest next year, who would you like to book for VersoFest?
Oh,
Money is no object.
EJ.
They have to be alive, but money is no object.
money's no object.
Oh, money's no object.
You can get anyone you want. They just have to be alive.
Oh my gosh.
It's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think on like the grand scheme of that I also think about like the one guy who actually performs around a lot is just because my family loves him so much, is Josh Ritter. I always think that he's like, just because he's a writer and a musician, he also paints. I mean, he would be really cool. I mean, then you think kind of like big picture. I mean, what could be the biggest name we could get for VersoFest? I mean, gosh, that's a much harder question, I mean, honestly, as I said, if you had told me that we could, have a library and in, a calendar year get, or, in the course of two VersaFests have Chuck D and John Densmore and Black Thought and Henry Rollins and Patti Smith and Keith Richards would be there somewhere in between. And, we've already kind of eclipsed my wildest imagination in a lot of ways.
Maybe Keith Richards could bring the rest of his bandmates next year or something.
Yeah, I guess if we got Keith Richards, what's the equivalent, right? I guess we need Paul McCartney maybe from the Beatles. Like,
there you go, Paul McCartney.
Like I guess that would be pretty cool. I don't know.
Elton John.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many amazing artists out there. There's so many. It'd be a dream to have. So
Elvis Costello, who has played with the Roots. There we go.
I mean, again, we talked. I mean, like Joan Jett. How cool would that be? I mean, she would be, super.
She'd be
cool.
really interesting for one of the talks too.
So I don't know.
Maybe
I need more time to prepare for.
Maybe that's the question for June. Not so much who would you like to book, but who would you like to interview? Who would you like to talk to?
So I'll tell you, if it were Conversations with June Archer, I would go with. And I hope Bill watches this interview.
I'll pass on.
If I had a, I don't think I have a top 5, but these, and there's no particular order. I would say David Grohl, Barack Obama, Beyonce. I'm mad that we lost Quincy Jones because that would have been a great conversation.
That would be very cool.
You said they have to be alive. I would lean with Stevie Wonder.
That would be very
that would be great.
All right, get on it, EJ.
Yeah, seriously. You know what? So June mentioned Alex earlier. That's Alex Giannini, our programming director. I will pass that on to him and happily make that his responsibility. Like honestly, if he can bring in those 5, I'm gonna have no problem getting people to show up for it.
Awesome. But we've got plenty of big people playing this year. So one more time, EJ, where can they learn more? What's happening? What time? When? Where?
Yeah, so again, we got Patti Smith Thursday, Wallflowers Friday. On Saturday, we have Black Thought, we have Henry Rollins, we have the Bruce Springsteen panel. Sunday, we have Paul Schaefer and Christine Ullman. Again, there's art, there's going to be other events. We're going to have an awesome kickoff event. We have workshops all at versofest.org. And, you can find out everything you need to know is there.
Awesome. Well, EJ, June, thanks so much for talking with us today about VersoFest. It's going to be... We'd like to thank our guests, EJ Crawford and June Archer. Municipal Voice is a co-production by CCM and WNHH 103.5 FM. Joe Thornton is our executive producer, Christopher Gilson is our producer, Harry Draws is on the boards, and I'm Matt Ford, your host. Be sure to check out our Facebook page and give us a like. And watch out for our CCM chat series on our YouTube page.